Okay. I want you to picture a scenario. And, for some of you listening, this isn't going to require much imagination at all.
It's the nightmare scenario.
It really is.
Yeah.
You are standing in front of a room. Maybe it's a boardroom. Maybe it's a huge client pitch. The stakes are, well, they're incredibly high. You open your mouth to speak, you know exactly what you want to say,
Yeah.
and your throat just closes up.
Right. It's not that you've forgotten the words.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
The words are right there. They're trapped. And as that silence stretches out, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, you can physically feel the opportunity just slipping away.
You can see it on their faces.
Oh, the uncomfortable looks, yeah. For most people, that's a hypothetical fear. Public speaking is scary, sure. But for the people in these case studies we're looking at today, that wasn't a nightmare. That was just a regular Tuesday.
That was their daily reality.
And that brings us to today's deep dive. We are digging into this really fascinating stack of case studies all around something called the Pro90 Smooth Speech System.
And its founder, Michael Williams.
Exactly. And I have to be honest, when I first saw speech system, I thought, okay, so are we just talking about speech therapy?
It's the natural assumption. Right.
But reading through these profiles, it feels like something else.
Right.
Something different.
You're spot on. I mean, if you really look at the source material, this isn't therapy in that traditional clinical sense. We're not looking at patients trying to get cured of a disease.
So what are we looking at?
We are looking at, high-performing individuals, executives, sales pros, academics, people who are engaging in what you could almost call rigorous identity coaching.
Identity coaching.
Essentially, yeah. The goal here isn't just to get by or manage a stutter. It's about totally rewriting the software of how they communicate. It's about moving from that choking sensation to what they call executive presence.
So let's unpack this. We have this stack of detailed case studies, real people, Benga, Joe, Diane. And I want to start where they all start, with the pain. Because I think there's a misconception that these speech struggles are just, a minor annoyance.
Right, like a little speed bump in the road.
But when you read these files, it's not a speed bump. It's a wall.
It's a glass ceiling, but one that's been self-imposed by their communication habits.
Take Benga, for instance. His file was heavy. This is a guy who's been dealing with this since he was 2 or 3 years old.
A lifelong stutterer.
Yeah.
And he's a professional. But he describes this one presentation at work. He calls it the worst of his career. He didn't just stumble. He fully choked up.
Couldn't get the message out. And the way he describes the aftermath is what really stuck with me. He says very explicitly that he lost career opportunities because of it.
Mm-hmm.
He uses this phrase that's just... It's heartbreaking. He said he managed to survive his career rather than thrive in it.
And that distinction is everything, isn't it? Surviving. I mean, think about the mental energy that consumes every single day.
Oh, absolutely.
When you walk into a meeting just trying to survive it without being humiliated, you're not there to innovate. You're not present. You're just in defense mode.
Which leads to avoidance.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I think, brings us to Joe. Now, Joe's story, this actually blew my mind. Joe is a salesman.
Yeah.
His entire mortgage, his family's livelihood, it all depends on him talking to people.
And yet, what was he doing? He was literally hiding from his job.
Explain that. Because on the surface, that just sounds completely irrational. How does a salesman hide from sales?
It's a coping mechanism. It's an extreme one, but that's what it is. Joe admits that when a hot lead would come in, a big client call, instead of taking it, he'd pass the phone to his manager.
No way.
Yes, he would literally give away his own commission rather than face the possibility of blocking on his words.
I mean, talk about a financial penalty for fear. He's literally paying for his own silence.
It's a massive penalty. He described it as frustrating and embarrassing. And you can see the feedback loop, right? You feel, and this is his word, curse.
For cursed, wow.
So you avoid speaking. Because you avoid speaking, you don't improve. Because you don't improve, the anxiety just grows and grows. It's a downward spiral.
And his entire self-image was tied up in it. But I want to pivot for a second because the sources are pretty clear that this isn't always about that kind of severe blocking stutter.
Correct. It's a whole spectrum.
Yeah, I was reading the file on Diane. She seems very different. Already a professional, interviewing for a vice president position at a global company. She wasn't, hiding in the bathroom.
No, Diane represents a different kind of struggle. She didn't have a block in that classic sense. She had what you might call rushed communication.
Rushed communication.
She spoke too fast, she used incomplete sentences, she just lacked what the corporate world calls dynamism.
So she was smart, she had the resume, but she just didn't sound like a leader.
Exactly. She realized that to get to that VP level, you can't just present the data, you have to command the space. And she felt rushed, which made her come across as anxious, not authoritative.
It's so interesting how diverse these struggles are. You've got Joe hiding from the phone, Diane rushing through an interview, and then you have the professor.
Ah, yes.
The professor, his was fascinating because he didn't even call himself a stutterer, but he struggled with sibilance. So TH sounds, S sounds.
A very specific phonetic struggle. But for him, an academic who speaks for a living, that one specific thing was enough to just shatter his confidence. He was constantly anticipating failure.
So it all comes down to the same thing, doesn't it? Whether it's a TH sound or a full block, it's this limitation on their identity.
Exactly. They were letting their speech dictate who they were allowed to be, which I think brings us to the pivot point. Why did they finally act? And specifically, why this Pro90 system?
That's the million-dollar question, because Benga mentions he'd already tried everything. Therapists, books, YouTube. He said nothing gave him lasting results. So what makes this Michael Williams guy different?
Well, it seems to be a fundamental difference in philosophy. Traditional therapy often works on a medical model. It's clinical. You have a problem, let's focus on the problem and try to minimize the error.
Okay, that makes sense.
This approach, at least based on the testimonials, is all about modeling a new style. It's not about fixing the broken car. It's about learning to drive a race car.
It's aspirational.
It is. For Benga, he pointed to the mentor aspect. He felt Michael Williams created this space where he could actually be vulnerable. It wasn't a doctor-patient thing. It was a mentorship.
And for the professor, it was visual. He found Michael's videos online and was just captivated by the way he spoke. He called it a calm, fluent style. He didn't just want to stop stuttering. He wanted to sound like that.
And that's a massive psychological shift. You aren't running away from a problem anymore. You're running toward an ideal.
Right. And Diane said something similar. She felt an immediate resonance when she spoke to him. It was about belief. But here's something I found really interesting in the notes. This tension between just doing self-study, burying the videos and doing it yourself, and getting actual coaching.
Yes. And this is a lesson for really any skill you're trying to learn.
Look at Paul and Kellen. Paul tried to go it alone. He bought the course, he did the work, and what happened? The classic yo-yo effect.
Exactly. Paul struggled with consistency. He'd make progress, feel good, then he'd stop practicing, and boom, he'd regress. He just didn't have the accountability.
And Kellen, what was his story?
Kellen had this great insight. He realized he had blind spots. And this is so critical. You can't always hear yourself objectively. You think you're sounding smooth, but you might be speeding up again or falling into old habits.
But you need that external ear.
He needed the coach to calibrate him. And Jade, who we'll talk about more, he just hit a plateau. He said he needed coaching to take it to the next level. It seems like the self-study gets you to okay, but the coaching gets you to elite.
Okay, so they sign up, they commit. Now I want to get into the gears of this thing.
Oh.
How does it actually work? Because the sources throw around some terms that sound a little sci-fi.
Chuckles. They do.
Yeah.
But the science behind them is actually very real.
Well, the biggest one is this idea that speech is a habit, not a curse.
That is the foundational pillar of the whole thing. Jade mentions this was his big realization. I mean, if you believe you're a stutterer, genetically you feel helpless. It's your DNA. You can't change that.
Right. You're just playing the hand you were dealt.
But if you see speech as a motor skill like, playing tennis or typing, then it's just a habit. It's a neural pathway. And habits can be unlearned. New ones can be written over them.
And the way they overwrite them is fascinating. Let's talk about modeling. This came up with Carlos and Jade. It sounds almost theatrical, like acting.
It is acting, in a way. But it's acting that's rooted in neuroscience. Carlos talks about using modeling to leverage mirror neurons.
Break that down. Mirror neurons.
So mirror neurons are brain cells that fire both when you do an action and when you see someone else do that same action. It's how we learn as babies. We mimic. The idea here is instead of trying to be confident Carlos, a version of himself he doesn't believe in yet, he just pretends to be a confident sleeker he admires.
Sometimes they even pretend to be Michael Williams himself. There's this one quote from a client that I just loved. He said, "When I got up to speak, I was Michael Williams in that moment. Everything came out exactly like it was supposed to because I wasn't myself.
Isn't that wild?
It is, but isn't it also, I don't know, isn't it fake?
Well, think about the utility of it. Yourself, your current identity, carries all the baggage. Yourself remembers every failed presentation, all the embarrassment. By stepping into a persona, you bypass all those anxiety triggers.
You're stepping into a character who doesn't stutter.
Precisely. It allows the brain to just execute the motor function of speech without all the emotional interference. It's basically fake it till you make it, but on a neurological level.
Okay, so you're giving your brain a permission slip to function correctly, and eventually the mask becomes the face.
The new neural pathway becomes the dominant one, but it's not just mental tricks. There are physical techniques, too.
Right, like Jade. Coming from a fast-talking culture, he had to physically learn to slow down and master his breathing.
Yes, to stay calm. And Joe used positive self-talk to stop what he called word anticipation.
Word anticipation. I think I know what that is, but explain it.
It's that scanner that's constantly running in the back of your mind. You're speaking, but your brain is 5 seconds ahead, scanning for danger words, words you think you might stutter on.
Oh, that sounds exhausting.
It's incredibly draining. And it creates anxiety before you even get to the word. Joe had to retrain his focus to stay in the moment, not live 5 seconds in the future.
And the sources are very clear. You can't just do this once a week. It has to be obsessive.
Consistency to automaticity. That's the phrase in the documents. Diane's story is a warning here. The study notes she had a temporary decline when she eased up on her practice.
She started slipping back.
Yep. Into fast talking. You have to immerse yourself. The Soundwise audio, daily practice, even on vacation. You're rewriting the default mode of your brain.
It's like your old speech habits are a superhighway.
Exactly. And the new habit is a little dirt path in the woods. If you stop walking on that path, the jungle grows back over it, and you just end up back on the highway by default. You have to flood the system with the new pattern until that dirt path becomes the new superhighway.
Okay, so they put in the work, they model, they breathe, they do the affirmations. Now comes the part everyone wants to know. Does it actually pay off? And I don't just mean feeling better. I mean, does it change their lives?
The data in these documents is surprisingly concrete, especially when it comes to the financials.
We have to talk about Joe.
We have to. Joe's transformation is just staggering. Remember, this is the guy passing off calls to his manager.
Right.
Giving away money.
Right. So before the coaching, what was he making?
He was averaging about $5,000 to $7,000 a month in commissions, which is respectable, but he knew he was underperforming.
And after?
He says he is on track for $18,000 to $20,000 monthly.
Wow. From 7 to 20 a month.
He's now a top 3 salesman in his entire company.
From hiding from the phone to top 3. That's a movie script.
It really is. And he has a quote here. "Last month, I closed enough deals to pay for my entire coaching investment in 1 month. He's aiming for $100,000 in commissions in the next 3 months."
That is a complete 180. It proves the speech was the only bottleneck. Once he removed that cork, everything just flowed out.
Exactly. And it's not just in sales. Diane got the job. She landed that vice president role. The feedback changed from her being rushed to dynamic.
She achieved that executive presence.
She did.
But, you know, as impressive as the money and the titles are, and $20,000 a month is very impressive, the soft metrics, the personal stuff, that actually hit me harder reading these.
I agree completely. The human element is where the real story is.
Benga. The guy has struggled since he was a toddler. He says he now looks forward to introducing himself. He can say his name.
That's huge. And for anyone listening who doesn't have this issue, you might not realize saying your own name is often the hardest thing for a stutterer.
Because you can't swap it out. If I get stuck on the word car, I can say automobile.
But you can't swap out your own name. You're trapped.
So for him, being able to say his name is literally reclaiming his identity.
It is the ultimate identifier. And what about Joe again? There's that beautiful detail in his file about talking to his mother.
Yes, in Korean.
He says he can now just talk to her without stumbling. It just flows naturally. And he said his focus shifted from avoiding mistakes to actually connecting with her.
That gave me chills. Because that's what communication is supposed to be, right? It's not a performance, it's a connection.
When you're constantly monitoring yourself for errors, scanning for those danger words, you are trapped inside your own head. You aren't with the other person. You're isolated.
It's total isolation. And this broke him out of it. The professor talked about this too, a mental victory. He said he no longer anticipates speech issues. The fear itself is gone.
And Carlos summed it all up. He just said, life is just so different now.
It seems like the speech was just the symptom. The stutter was the anchor. And once they cut that chain, the whole shift could finally move forward.
It's a powerful reminder of how pliable we are. We think we're stuck. Oh, I'm just not a good public speaker, or I'm just an anxious person. But these cases suggest you can literally rewrite the script.
It's neuroplasticity in action. The brain is not fixed. It can be molded. So as we wrap up this deep dive, we've seen people go from losing promotions and hiding in the shadows to tripling their income and, maybe more importantly, just enjoying a conversation with their mom.
It's about freedom. Freedom to say what you want when you want to say it.
Absolutely. So here's the thought I want to leave you with today. We saw how modeling, literally pretending to be a confident speaker, eventually wired their brains to become confident speakers. It worked for their speech. So what other area of your life is currently being held back simply because you haven't started practicing your new identity yet?
That's a question worth sitting with.
Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. We'll catch you on the next one.